The slap echoed through the silent boutique. Everyone froze. I watched as the pregnant woman touched her burning cheek, her diamond wedding ring catching the afternoon light. The sales associate smirked, confident the manager would take her side. She had no idea this customer's family owned half the commercial real estate in the city. What happened next changed everything. It was one of those perfect spring afternoons where everything felt calm and peaceful. Nicole Patterson was 7 months pregnant and glowing despite the obvious discomfort that comes with carrying a child. She wore a simple cotton dress, comfortable sneakers, and her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. Nothing about her screamed wealth or privilege. That was intentional. Nicole had grown up in one of the wealthiest families in the state, but her parents taught her early that money doesn't make you better than anyone else. Her father, Gerald Patterson, built Patterson Properties from the ground up, and now they're family-owned commercial buildings across 3 states. But you'd never know it by looking at Nicole that day. She walked into Maison Laurent, an upscale boutique known for luxury maternity wear and designer fashion. The store was beautiful, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, with soft classical music playing in the background. Nicole had heard good things about their maternity collection and thought she'd treat herself to something nice. Her baby was due in 2 months, and she wanted a few comfortable pieces that made her feel beautiful during these final weeks. The moment she stepped inside, she noticed the atmosphere shift. A sales associate named Victoria Hayes glanced up from behind the counter, took one look at Nicole's casual appearance, and her expression changed. It was subtle, but Nicole caught it. That slight narrowing of the eyes, the way Victoria's smile faded just a fraction. Nicole had seen that look before. She was a black woman in an expensive store, dressed comfortably, and apparently that was enough for someone to make assumptions. Nicole browsed the racks slowly, running her fingers over silk blouses and flowing dresses. Her back ached, and her feet were swollen, but she was determined to find something special. She watched as Victoria enthusiastically helped other customers, bringing them champagne, pulling pieces from the back room, laughing and chatting like they were old friends. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Nicole tried to catch Victoria's eye several times, even positioning herself directly in Victoria's path. Nothing. Finally, Nicole approached politely. "Excuse me, could you help me find something in my size?" Her voice was soft, tired from the pregnancy. Victoria barely looked up from the tablet she was scrolling through. "Everything's organized by size on the racks," she said flatly, then walked away to greet another customer who'd just entered. This woman was older, carrying a designer handbag, and Victoria's entire demeanor transformed. Suddenly she was all warmth and attention. Nicole felt her baby kick, a little reminder that she wasn't alone. She took a deep breath and continued browsing on her own. She'd dealt with this kind of treatment before. Being underestimated was nothing new. Her father always told her that how people treat you says everything about them and nothing about you. So she stayed patient, even though exhaustion was setting in. She found a beautiful emerald dress that would be perfect for an upcoming charity dinner. The price tag read $3,000, but Nicole wasn't concerned about cost. She just wanted something that would make her feel confident and comfortable. As she lifted it from the rack to examine the fabric, Victoria appeared out of nowhere, moving with surprising speed. "That piece costs more than you probably make in 6 months," Victoria said, her voice dripping with condescension. She reached out as if to take the dress from Nicole's hands. Nicole held on gently but firmly. "I'd like to try it on, please," she replied, keeping her tone even and polite. Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line. "That particular item isn't available," she said, though they both knew it was hanging right there between them. "I can show you our sale section in the back if you'd like." The rejection stung, but Nicole refused to let it show. Other customers were starting to notice now, glancing over with curiosity and discomfort. An older woman whispered something to her companion. Nicole could feel the tension building in the air, thick and uncomfortable. "I'd like to speak with the manager, please," Nicole said quietly. Victoria actually laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. "The manager is busy. And honestly, you're being difficult over a dress you can't afford. There are other stores better suited to your budget." Nicole's phone buzzed in her purse. It was her husband calling to check on her. She excused herself and stepped to the side, one hand on her belly. "Hey, honey, I'm fine. Just shopping. I'll tell you about it later." Her voice was steady, but her husband knew her well. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked. "I'm sure. Love you." She hung up and turned back to face Victoria, who was now complaining loudly to another sales associate about customers who waste everyone's time. Nicole took a moment to center herself. She thought about her baby, about the kind of world she wanted to bring her child into, a world where people weren't judged by their appearance or the color of their skin, a world where dignity wasn't determined by designer labels or expensive jewelry. She walked back to Victoria with renewed determination. "I'm asking one more time to speak with your manager. Her name is Deborah, correct?" Victoria stepped into Nicole's space, uncomfortably close. "I am the authority here when the manager isn't available," she said, her voice rising. "And I'm telling you that you need to leave." Nicole stood her ground, though her heart was racing. "I'm a paying customer. I have the right to shop here." The words came out calm and clear, but inside she was shaking. Not from fear, but from the injustice of it all. Here she was, 7 months pregnant, being treated like a criminal for wanting to buy a dress. Victoria's face flushed red with anger. "Get out before I call security on you and your baby!" The cruelty of those words hung in the air. Nicole felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. She wouldn't give Victoria the satisfaction, and that's when it happened. Victoria's hand flew through the air and connected with Nicole's cheek with a sharp, sickening crack. The boutique went completely silent. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. The classical music suddenly seemed too loud. Nicole staggered back, one hand flying to her burning cheek, the other protectively cradling her belly. The shock of it paralyzed her for a moment. She'd been insulted before, ignored before, but never physically attacked. Never struck while pregnant. The red mark on her face began to bloom like a shameful flower. That's when Deborah, the store manager, emerged from the back office. She was an elegant woman in her 40s, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. She hadn't witnessed the slap, but she'd heard the commotion. Before she could even ask what happened, Victoria launched into her defense. "Thank God you're here, Deborah. This woman has been aggressive and threatening me. She was causing a scene, refusing to leave, and I felt unsafe." The lies came so easily, so smoothly, that for a moment even Nicole was stunned by the audacity. Other customers tried to speak up. "That's not what happened," one woman said. "She hit her," another added, but Victoria talked over them, her voice getting louder and more frantic. Deborah looked between Victoria and Nicole watched as the manager made her choice. "Ma'am," Deborah said, addressing Nicole with professional coolness, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises." Nicole felt something break inside her. Not her spirit, but her faith that doing the right thing, being patient and kind, would matter. She nodded slowly, wiping a tear that had escaped despite her best efforts. She didn't argue, she didn't yell, she simply took out her phone and made a call. "Dad," she said quietly, "I need you at Maison Laurent Boutique." Her father's voice came through, concerned but controlled. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "I'm okay, just please come." She hung up and stood by the entrance, one hand still on her reddened cheek, the other on her belly where her baby was moving, perhaps sensing her mother's distress. Victoria and Deborah exchanged looks of relief and satisfaction. They thought it was over. They thought they'd won. 10 long, awkward minutes passed. Nicole didn't move. She stood there with a dignity that seemed to fill the space around her, making others uncomfortable with their silence. A regular customer, a woman in her 60s who'd been shopping there for years, suddenly gasped. She leaned to her friend and whispered, "Oh my God, that's Nicole Patterson." The name rippled through the boutique like a stone dropped in still water. The door opened and Gerald Patterson walked in. He was a distinguished man in his mid-60s, with silver hair and kind eyes that could turn sharp when needed. He wore a simple but clearly expensive suit, the kind that whispered wealth rather than shouted it. He went straight to his daughter, cupping her face gently and examining the red mark. "Who did this?" he asked, his voice quiet, but carrying an edge that made everyone in the store hold their breath. Then he turned to Deborah. "Who owns this building?" he asked conversationally. Deborah blinked, confused by the question. "Patterson Properties," she answered automatically. "But I don't see what that has to do with—" Gerald cut her off gently. "I'm Gerald Patterson. This is my daughter, Nicole." The color drained from Victoria's face so quickly she looked like she might faint. Deborah's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. "Now," Gerald continued, his voice still calm, "I'd like to know who struck my pregnant daughter." The security footage was pulled up within minutes. Everyone gathered around the monitor, everyone who'd been too afraid to speak up earlier suddenly vocal with their accounts. The video showed everything in painful clarity: Victoria ignoring Nicole, the condescending comments, the refusal of service, and finally, the slap. There was no denying it, no spinning it into something else. Victoria tried to apologize, words tumbling out in a desperate stream. "I didn't know who she was. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Please, I have bills, I have rent, I need this job." Gerald looked at her with an expression that wasn't angry, just deeply disappointed. "You're absolutely right," he said. "You made a terrible mistake, but not the one you think. Your mistake wasn't hitting someone important. Your mistake was hitting someone at all. Your mistake was treating another human being with such contempt that you thought violence was acceptable." Victoria was fired immediately. Deborah was suspended pending a full investigation. The store's owner, who leased the building from Patterson Properties, arrived within the hour, pale and apologetic. He offered everything he could think of: discounts, free merchandise, personal apologies. But Nicole just shook her head tiredly. "I don't want free things," she said. "I wanted to be treated like a person. That's all I ever wanted." Gerald made it clear this wasn't about revenge or flexing his wealth. "This is about accountability," he told the owner. "What happened here today happens in stores across this country every single day. The only difference is my daughter had the resources to demand justice. Most people don't. That needs to change." Over the next weeks, the store implemented mandatory anti-discrimination training for all staff. New policies were put in place for handling customer complaints. A significant donation was made to a maternal health charity in Nicole's name. Victoria left the boutique that day, escorted by security, still trying to explain herself, still not quite understanding that her actions had consequences. "I didn't know who she was," she kept repeating. And that was exactly the problem. She thought respect was something you gave based on someone's status, their wealth, their perceived importance. She never learned that respect is something you give because we're all human beings deserving of basic dignity. In the weeks that followed, Victoria struggled to find new employment. Word spread in the retail community, not because Gerald made calls or used his influence, but because other employees from that boutique talked. They'd watched it happen. They'd seen the cruelty. And they didn't want to work with someone capable of that kind of behavior. Victoria learned the hard way that your reputation is built on how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. 2 months later, Nicole gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She never sued the store. She never went to the media. Her family's quiet intervention was enough, but she did start using her platform and resources to advocate for fair treatment in retail spaces. She partnered with organizations fighting discrimination and supported pregnant women who faced similar treatment but lacked the means to fight back. The red mark on her cheek faded within days, but the lesson stayed with everyone who witnessed what happened. The other customers who stood silent while Victoria abused her power went home thinking about their own complicity. Deborah had to confront how quickly she'd sided with her employee without asking questions, how her assumptions about who deserved belief were based on who looked like they belonged. And Nicole? She healed. She held her baby girl and promised to raise her in a world where she'd never have to question her worth. She taught her daughter the same lessons her father taught her. That true character shows in how you treat people who can't do anything for you, that dignity isn't given by others but comes from within, and that sometimes the most powerful response to cruelty is simply refusing to become cruel yourself. The boutique still operates today, changed by what happened. New management, new policies, and a new understanding that every customer who walks through those doors deserves respect, not because of their last name or their bank account, but because they're human beings. That should have been enough from the beginning. This story reminds us that dignity and respect shouldn't depend on someone's wallet or status. Nicole could have made this much worse for everyone involved, but she chose grace instead. What would you have done in her situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story made you think differently about judging people by their appearance, hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe for more real-life stories that'll make you see the world differently. Remember, treat everyone with kindness. You never know who you're really talking to. See you in the next one.